Welcome to Underneath the Millennium Bridge. It's low tide at the moment. As you can see, I'm walking right on the Thames at the moment, and it's lovely. I love that when that happens. I previously spoke about what to expect when you return from a long trip. And now I want to talk about what to expect before you go on a long trip. The tips and tricks that I'm sharing, it's not necessarily tips and tricks of what to prepare, what to pack. I think it's more the psychological part of it. Before you go on a trip, when you're telling people you're about to go on a long trip, for example, in my case, I was telling people that I was going to go to South America for 10 weeks. And the reaction I would get most of the time would be, oh my God, what are you doing? Are you sure about that? You have to be careful about this and about that. You have to look after this and that. This and that can happen. And most of the time, they were always horror stories of what could go wrong, what had happened to others. And what I've come to realize is that usually the stories they tell you, it's a projection of their fears. It's a projection of what they are scared about. If they were to go on a trip, they would be thinking about that, and that would usually stop them from going. And that's why they are sharing that with you, so that you are made aware of it, and that maybe it'll stop you from making the biggest mistake. I do hope that it's out of concern. Oftentimes, people don't want things to happen to you, of course, because they love you and they care for you. However, I've come to realize that if you want to really care for someone, if they are sharing something with you about whether to start a project or go traveling solo somewhere really far, instead of sharing your fear or horror stories, encourage them. Just say, that's great. I mean, whatever you decide to do, we'll be there for you. Make sure you give us a call. Make sure you send us pictures. Make sure you let us know where you are, or you have our full support. And, maybe if you really are concerned, look into it yourself. Look into it. Find videos of other people who have done that, who have been on holidays, long trips, and went backpacking or went for an exchange or something, anything to help them. And you could send them those videos so that they can learn from them. And even for yourself, instead of listening to advice and suggestions and horror stories of the people around you who are worried, it's only natural, they are worried for you. But instead of listening to that and looking to get validation from them, do your research, go and look for other people who have done it, who have gone to that specific destination for however long they were there for. Look for the advice from the people who have done it before, because that's where you're going to learn the most, and that's where it makes more sense, and you're not going to get those horror stories which could deter you or scare you and worry you during your trips. That is one of the things to expect. And I would say the way to overcome that, like I said, don't take it personally. Don't feel that everyone is against you, or feel that you shouldn't be doing this and then wonder whether you are taking the right decisions by going. In my case, for example, I had already booked my flight, and that's when all these stories would come to me, like stories like, oh my gosh, you could get kidnapped. Oh my gosh, you could get unalived. This and that can happen. There's somebody who disappeared. Somebody went missing. There's always so many stories like that. It's unbelievable. It's scary. And honestly, it will scare you. However, like I say, keep looking in another direction. When you hear that, then look into how can you protect yourself more. So in a way, it is to make you aware of something. So it's good for that reason. However, don't stay there. Don't just listen to that and think, yeah, you're right, I shouldn't do it. Like I say, for me, it was already too late. I had already booked. And anyway, that wasn't going to deter me from going. So what I did instead, I was really researching places to go to, where is safe. So you do have to look at safe areas. For example, I was looking up Argentina, I was researching that, and I knew that La Boca, it's an area that is great during the day, but you have to be careful there. I'm not sure how it is now, but back in the days I was told that. So as you research, you learn about these areas, and then you learn what to do. You really have to look it up. You have to do your research. I think when things happen, it's because people are not doing their research properly. They're not being aware of what could happen. When people were sharing their concern with me, of course, I was thinking, right, okay, that's a bit extreme, what you're telling me. However, let me look it up. And I would look it up, and then I would know that, okay, maybe it happened in this area. They went too late to that area, or they were hanging out with the wrong people. So you then hear stories, but you will learn from them to be careful and be mindful. So in a way, it's not all bad, but don't let that stop you from going. In my case, I have been there, and I will never tell anyone, don't go there because it's unsafe and this and that can happen. In fact, it was one of the safest places I've ever traveled to. It was absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, and imagine if I had listened to all these stories telling me that I shouldn't go there because of this and that, I would have missed out on that. It was absolutely amazing. But what I did instead was I was very careful. I really paid attention to my surrounding. Like I say, I had researched before to know what area to go to, which area was best to stay at, what other things to be done and visit. And then when I got there, that's when I started meeting people where I was staying at. I was staying in a hostel, which I highly recommend if you are traveling alone and you like meeting people, go into a hostel. You don't have to go in those old hostels that are really crappy or cheap. You can go to a more upmarket hostel. They exist now, and they are amazing. You could really meet wonderful people. So I highly recommend doing that, because they can then help you and advise you on the spot. These are people who sometimes they are on their way out. They're about to leave or go home, and they can really help you by giving you the right advice, saying like, you should go here and there after this, highly recommend this and that. So obviously they felt safe. They will share with you where they don't feel safe. And so everything, you gotta learn everything once you go out there. So do not let any horror story stop you from going anywhere. In fact, like I say, I will always encourage anyone I'm meeting, any woman I'm meeting who's never traveled alone, I will always encourage them to go out there and do it. Because there's so much to explore, so much to see, and you discover yourself so much more by doing that. And you developed a sense of intuition. You develop your intuition, you developed listening to yourself, and that's something that you have to do. When you're traveling alone, you have to listen to your intuition. It's better to be safe than sorry. If you feel that something is not right, or it feels wrong, or you feel unsafe, listen to that. Do something about it. Get up and walk away, or say something about it. It's better to be wrong about feeling unsafe and having a bad intuition about something or someone than to be right about it and not doing anything about it on time. It's better to be safe than sorry. Just always remember that. I'm going to give you an example. I went to Bolivia in a 4x4. We were crossing the desert, and we were going to the Salar of Uyuni, and from Chile. So we were crossing the border. We crossed the border of Chile to Bolivia, and then we went in that 4x4. So I'm saying we because I was on my own, but there are other travelers there, and we are sharing the same car. We had our driver, I would say maybe a quarter through our trip. It was going to be like an 8 hours long trip. There were going to be some breaks, but I realized that he hadn't slept from his previous trip. His previous 8 hours trip, he dropped people off at the borders of Chile, and then he picked us up to then go back to the Salar of Uyuni. I'm not even sure if I'm saying it right anymore. And when I realized that, I thought, oh my gosh, so he hadn't slept. If he hadn't slept, he's going to feel really tired right now. And then at some point, we were on the edge of a valley. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous valley. I remember very well because I thought, wow, this is gorgeous. However, I looked at the driver. I was right at the back, and I looked at the mirror, the front mirror, where I could see the driver's eyes. He closed his eyes. He blinked a bit. I just thought, hang on a minute, is he falling asleep? Because the sun was on his face. And we were on the edge of this valley, like it's the edge of a valley, beautiful valley, but that meant if our car was to go down the edge, we would have, I don't even want to think about it. At that point, at that moment, I looked around, everyone was asleep, fast asleep, because everyone's tired, you know, you're traveling, you have your backpack and everything. And at that moment, the me from before, who doesn't want to disturb anyone, who wants to please everybody, would have just kept quiet and just thought, no, I'm sure this is going to be fine, you know, someone else would say something if it's not right, or if something is wrong, someone else will say it. I don't know why we think that. We think that it can't just be me seeing something that's wrong here. I'm sure other people will see it also, and you leave it. But in this case, I did not. I saw that he was falling asleep, so I woke up everyone in the car. I said, hey, everyone, wake up. I think our driver is falling asleep. He wasn't speaking English, by the way. He was only speaking Spanish. There were 2 British people in the car, 1 German girl at the front. So yeah, a couple in front of me. I was at the back. There was another Spanish man sitting next to me. So we were 5 of us in the car, plus the driver, so 6. The German girl did not care. The couple were a bit worried, but they didn't know what to do. So I just decided to try my best to speak Spanish with the man next to me. And I said to him, I think that man is falling asleep. I think he's falling asleep. Please speak to him. Keep him awake. Somehow I managed to say, I was so worried. So the man said, hey, are you okay? And the guy said, I'm fine. Why? He said, because she thinks you're falling asleep. So the driver didn't appreciate that. But I didn't care. So he just said, no, I'm fine. And he carried on driving, right? So at that point, everyone was awake. And then what happened was, I kept looking at the mirror to see his eyes. And he was looking back also. And I could see he was like, okay, she's checking me out. He carried on driving. But then not long after that, what happened was, he stopped the car, got out of the car, and went to this little water pond and splashed water on his face. So I was right. He was falling asleep. He actually got out of the car and splashed water on his face, drank some water, moved around a bit, because he could feel himself falling asleep also. And I mean, guys, we were on the edge of a valley, and that wouldn't have been, like I said, I don't even want to think about it. But, you know, from that moment, I really thought to myself, you know, never feel that you are a nuisance to anyone. Speak up, listen to your intuition, always listen to your intuition. The reality is he really was falling asleep. I could see you know, that had happened in the past before, and I never wanted to experience that again. So those moments will teach you that, okay, my intuition is right, let's do something about it, and never be scared. Like I say, always, it's always better to be safe than sorry. I don't know if you could hear St. Paul's Cathedral. The bells are ringing, because I believe it's 12 o'clock. Yep. To get back to what I was saying, is that really listen to your intuition and make sure you look after yourself. Make sure you are resourceful and find ways to either feel safe and protect yourself. And I mean, just enjoy yourself, but in the safest way. Always have a backup plan. Always think of, how am I going to go back home? Or if you are invited somewhere, like I say, look up where it is before you go, so that you make sure that you can get back home, regardless of who you're with, and that you know where it is. Don't just follow people. Don't just keep on going from one place to another without really knowing where you are, the area you are, and how to get there and how to get back. That's very important. Oh my gosh, this is very muddy now, and I am not wearing the right trainers. Definitely not wearing the right trainers. Oh la la. Let me show you. So I just stepped over there, that's super muddy. I mean, and look at my trainers. I don't know if you're gonna see it. Yeah. Oh gosh, look at that. That's okay, that's easily wiped off. I hadn't actually planned this properly. I just saw that the tide was low and I thought, let me walk down here and do this, but hey. Ah. Oh well, it is what it is. Oh, it's all soft and I thought it's all going to be pebbles and it's not. Okay, that's not too bad. So I don't have any filters on at the moment. I forgot my ND filter. So it is forecast today, so hopefully it's not going to be overexposed. And I'm using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I am not sponsored by DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I just love saying what camera I'm using because when I was doing research about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, I wanted to look up at every creators who were using it, the vloggers specifically, because I wanted to see what it would look like and trying to imagine myself using the camera. And I found that some of them were using it, but they were not saying it. So it's only when I was watching some of their videos and eventually they would mention it was a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to make it easy. I'll just put DJI Osmo Pocket 3, talk about it so that it's clear. So anyone wanting to know what this camera does or what it's like to be vlogging with it, here it is. You get to see exactly what it's like. This is it. I wanted to just come on here and say that the main point is to be safe, better safe than sorry, and but also don't be scared, don't be disheartened by the stories you hear. If you want to go away traveling for a long period of time on your own, don't listen to the horror stories. There will always be negativity or, like I say, things to be worried about, but don't focus on them. You can listen to them, learn from them, but focus on finding solutions, find ways so that you don't get into that kind of situations, or get inspiration from the people who've done it and it was all safe for them. But mainly, if you do feel something is unsafe and you're not comfortable with a certain situation, speak up, do something about it, get up, walk away, or just stay safe and follow your intuition. And the more you're going to travel alone, the more your intuition will become sharpened. That is why I highly recommend traveling on your own and going solo traveling, because you really grow your intuition, your confidence, and you realize that there is so much more to life than what we know, what we think we know. And you realize that the unknown can be scary, but it's not once you go out there and actually explore it for yourself. But listening to other people talking about it will scare you. You'll be worried about it. But instead of doing that, instead of listening to other people worrying about it, just go out there yourself and experience it for yourself, and you will know and you will see that it's not as scary as it is. So that is it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed my little walk. It's time for lunch and I will now make my way back along the south bank. I really hope that my microphone was not constantly rubbing here. How cute. Right, so as I was saying, I really hope my microphone wasn't rubbing against my scarf this whole time. If it is, then I may have to record again. It is what it is. Let's go. Oh my gosh, my trainers. They're gonna need a good wash. So yeah, if you are planning on coming down here on low tide, make sure you wear good footwear, or footwear that you don't mind getting them scrapped, because look at this now. Oh la la. It is what it is. Nice and vibrant. Always nice and vibrant here in front of the Tate Modern. So that is it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed. And this is going to be part of my solo traveling series. So I'm going to keep on popping in a few videos here and there about solo traveling. And I'll also carry on with the other videos that I'm doing when I am exploring parts of London. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe, like, engage, and comment. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.